welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Saturday. It is the weekly energy card reading, and what that is every Saturday I post a video where you, the viewer, get to choose from one of 3 tarot or oracle decks, and we'll go through and do a quick reading to see what the general energies will be for the next 7 days. It does not have to be the week of May 23rd through the 30th in order for the messages to resonate. If you were drawn to this video at any time, please feel free to check it out. I do thank you for checking out my channel. If you like the messages and the content of my channel, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll go ahead and get started. This week we have 3 decks. I can't believe it's the last week of May 2020. I'm really in awe of that because it's like, wow, it's been a crazy year, but it's really amazing that we are almost to June. The year is half over, right? To do the weekly energy card reading, I wanted to go ahead and go with some decks I haven't used in a while. So the first deck is my most favorite deck. It is the deck that I formally learned tarot on. It's not the very first deck that I owned, but it's the second deck that I owned, and it's the one I learned most of the imagery. And with it, I have a clear quartz. The second deck I have is The Art of Tarot by Liz Dean, and with it we have a beautiful volcanic quartz, and it's a rose quartz. The last deck is the Tarot of the, I'm sorry, I'm knocking my poor stone around. The Tarot of the Southwest Sacred Tribes, and with it we have a beautiful piece of petrified wood. And the lighting really doesn't do it justice. It's so beautiful. Just like my amber, it's a piece of, it's really, really old. It's a piece of wood that has been petrified. So it is very, very old, and it's really beautiful and smooth. And so that will go with our third deck. To help clarify, I am going to use an oracle deck. I think I've used this deck before on the channel. I'm not 100% sure. I think I did. But this is called the Mixed Emotions. All of the names and authors of my decks are always listed in the description box below, as are the timestamps if you ever want to just jump straight to the reading. But what I love about this deck is that this is a deck that talks about different types of emotions, and what it is it's created by a psychologist, and it really is it really is a deck about mental health. Even if you're not into card reading, like tarot or oracle, this is a nice deck to just kind of pull cards and meditate. It has both positive and not really negative, but kind of real emotions like irritated, surprised, worried, grateful. So I just think it's really wonderful. I use it a lot for my own personal readings. And so I think this is maybe the first or second time that I'm using it on the channel. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get straight to the reading. I will freeze frame and let you choose your deck. If you like the artwork or the stone or maybe the timestamp, please choose from your intuition, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So if you ever need more time, please feel free to pause the video. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the clear quartz. This is so beautiful. This was actually included as a gift. I got I bought a Shiva stone heart. Here, I'll show you real quick. I bought a Shiva stone heart, and the seller was really so sweet. She sent me the heart, and it's really beautiful on the back too. It's one of those shells that are carved into the shape of a heart. And as a free gift, she gave me the clear quartz, and I just think that it pairs very well with my Morgan Greer. But so the first deck is the Morgan Greer. So let's go ahead and see what kind of energies do you have for the next 7 days. And just to reiterate, it doesn't have to be the last week in May. And we always have a saying in card reading, take what resonates and leave the rest. If you feel like the energies are not really jiving, don't take it as gospel. It definitely doesn't have to be the exact message for you. But if there might be little nuggets in it, which I've always noticed, sometimes when I'm drawn to a reading, there's some little piece of information that resonates. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. All right, and then the middle of our week, please. Ooh, thank you. And the end of the week, please. Ooh. Wow. All right, and let's go ahead and let's get your emotions card. So what's the general energy? Please give us a card for the general feeling of the week. Ooh, okay. Can we get one extra card? Well, guys, okay. All right, I'm definitely getting a story. And again, there are no bad cards in tarot and there are no bad cards in oracle. It just helps us to reflect, right? And these, again, are psychological cards that are used to just kind of meditate and kind of delve deep into the deep feelings that you're feeling. So it's really not meant to be too literal. Almost like reading a dream. That's kind of how I read tarot, is as if you're reading the symbols in a dream and trying to get to the deep energy beneath. And actually, that's a really perfect analogy to start off on, because beginning of the week, you got the moon. And we had a tarot on the moon not too long ago. And what you see is you see calm waters with a crustacean, like a crab, coming out. And then you see the two dogs howling at the moon. And it's funny, when I had a tarot on the moon, I did not use the Morgan Greer, and I almost wish I did, because again, the lighting doesn't do it justice. The shading of the card is really quite beautiful, and actually, one thing that I've noticed that I never noticed before is that there seems to be like a little red dot hidden in the doorway of one of the towers, and I've never noticed that before. In one of my other oracle decks, it's by Colette Baron Reed, and it's like the something map. I'll put it in the description box. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but there's a card in that deck that talks about goblins. And it's interesting because the bottom of the card is all this kind of shadow. It almost shows like the shadow of a forest. And then as your eyes carry to the top of the card, you see things getting lighter, right? It's almost like the light of day cannot reach the shadows beneath. And in it there are little red eyes, right? And it's called the Goblin card, and I think it's the Sacred Map cards. I'll list it. I'll put it on the screen. But I'm really getting that kind of feeling. Like at the beginning of the week, you're kind of feeling that. I really have a feeling that by the beginning of the week, you're going to be dealing, the moon is a lot of what is hidden, right? When we had a tarot, we talked a lot about how crustaceans, like crabs and lobsters and other, bottom dwelling kind of crustaceans, what they do is they really do, they eat the particles in the water. And not to sound funny, we even talked about this in the How to Tarot. Crustaceans eat the debris, the remnants, the excretions of other animals. And so, not to sound funny, but they kind of eat crap. I'm not saying that that's going to be you at the beginning of the week, but what it does is they purify water. Crustaceans purify water. They go through and it's a very, the moon card is a very Cancerian. It's the sun. It's the astrological sign of Cancer, which is also a crab. It's represented by a crab. But the moon is, what it is that it's the two towers. It's the two mirrors, right? And it's the dog and the wolf. It's the domesticated dog and the primal dog. And then you also have the lobster. And what that means, and what that means for your week, is that it means that you're going to be going very deep into your subconscious. At the beginning of the week, I really get the feeling like something might be triggering you at the beginning of the week. Something is going to be bringing out the very deep recesses of, and definitely with your feelings in the middle of the week, and we'll get into that. You really are going to be delving deep. There's something in this water. There's something in this water that needs to be purified. There's something, there's not to be blunt, but there's crap in your water that you need to get rid of. And I honestly think that this is stuff that's been sitting there for a while, right? And what it is that, again, with the dog, and I highly encourage, if at the beginning of your week, if you have a moment, and the beginning of the How to Tarots are not too long. They're about 15, 20 minutes, but you can fast forward. Feel free to scrub through it. But the biggest imagery is the domesticated dog and the wolf. And what it is the domesticated dog is that faceplate that we put on for the world, right? Humans are still animals, right? We're still primates in a sense. We have base desires. And even though we've been on this planet for a long time and we walk upright and we put on suits and we put on makeup, even though we put on a very, very polished faceplate for the rest of the world, we still have a lot of primal needs. You do have base needs underneath all that pretty exterior, right? So I don't think any of us could ever come across and say that we are absolutely, we are evolved, but we're not perfect. And what the moon always points at is the moon points at those really, really hidden desires that are buried deep inside of you. And it really says that you might not be showing that true side of yourself. Either that, or you might be denying it a little bit. And by the beginning of the week, you're really going to be feeling it. Like, you're just going to feel like there's something hidden. I always think of it like the cork that's pushed down into the water, because it always pops up somewhere else. You can push that cork down, and what it'll do is it'll move underneath the surface and it'll pop up somewhere else. So what's happening is, at the beginning of the week, I really think that there's something churning in your inner waters, and I think you want to know what that is. The other thing is that in the light of the moon, the reflection of the moon reflects the sun's light. It's a mirror. It's a mirror, right? And the two towers mirror one another, right? And the domesticated dog and the primal wolf are two versions of the same beast. So I know I'm getting very philosophical here. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but it's major arcana. So it's a major. It's anytime you see a major in a read, it means that it's not something that just popped up out of the blue. It's something that's been going on. It's something major that's been moving. That's been chugging along under the surface for a while. So in the beginning of the week, you're really feeling it, but looking at this spread, I really get a feeling that you feel it. You feel something going on, and you want to root it out. But the thing about the moon is that it is a planet, and it's so again, our moon. The sun could not exist without the moon. If the moon didn't exist, we would spin off into oblivion, right? The two, they're polar opposites to each other. But the moon does not glow on its own right. It reflects the sun's light. So what that means is that the moon is reflecting something that is deep within your either your ego or something in your history. It can deal with a lot of family things too, because the moon rules the mother. But basically, there's something in your waters that you really want to purify. And the other thing about the moon is that it usually is that kind of nagging longing that you really don't understand. You're almost a little afraid to delve into those water because they're so murky, right? It's like swimming at night. You can't see through the water. But that's going to be definitely your energy at the beginning of the week. I definitely think there might be something going on. There might be a current situation that's triggered by something in your past that's really nagging at you. Either that, or it's bringing up some kind of suppressed emotion that you haven't really dealt with, but you want to, but you're almost afraid to unleash the beast, right? You're afraid that wolf's going to come out, right? So I almost feel like you're putting on, yeah, I'm definitely getting a feeling like you're putting on a very polished front. You want to keep the domesticated dog mask on, but there's something wolf, there's something primal that's kind of churning under the surface, and you're really going to feel it by the beginning of the week. Now, by the middle of the week, you really kind of have, I'm really kind of seeing a very productive vibe. You got the Ace of Pentacles and you got the Six of Coins. And the Ace of Pentacles is that beautiful hand coming out of the sky with the pentacle, right? And in the middle of the Six of Pentacles is the man who has two people with their hands out, and he's giving money, right? But the Six of Pentacles, the person is holding a scale, almost like justice, right? He's going to give the money to the person that needs it the most, right? That's the purpose of the scales of justice, is that it has to be fair distribution. But what I'm seeing here is what's happening is I'm seeing a new influx of money. Like by the middle of the week, you might be it might be a payday week, or you might be seeing the proceeds of something. And you might have to turn around and give that money to someone else. It could very well be someone that you owe money to, or it can be someone who really needs the money, and you're kind of weighing it. Again, you're saying, this person needs the money more than I do. But and again, we're going to get into your emotions cards in a minute, but you did get two emotion cards that are kind of right under the middle of the week. These emotion cards are supposed to be the general energy for the whole week, but I really am kind of feeling it more towards the middle. But here, let me go ahead and I'll get to the end. But basically, I do get the feeling like there is a card in there in the mixed emotions decks that talks about resentment. I'm not getting a real resentful vibe, but I am getting the feeling as if maybe you have to you either have to work really hard or, to pay some kind of debt that you feel is a little bit, that doesn't seem very grateful for it. Like you might be, it feels kind of, if you ever have that bill where you just feel like it feels like the dirge to pay it, right? You pay it and they're just like, okay, snatch the money away from you, and you're like, yes, you're welcome. It's kind of like that feeling, right? It feels like you're making great progress, and I do think that you're earning good money. What's happening though is that the other thing that you see here is that there's a lot of circles, right? There's golden circles and everywhere you turn. So I don't think that you're bad off. I don't think you're bad off. I do think that you're kind of grateful that you have the ability to pay the bills that you need to right now, which is an absolute blessing. But it is one of those things where you might be paying off a debt that you feel like the person or the payee, and this could be like something like a bill that, is just one of those cold, bills like a credit card or something where the moment you get paid, you have to hand over a hefty sum to it, and it's just like, thank you for your payment, and you're just like, yeah, you're welcome, right? It seems a little cold when you're, handing over so much, but it is your obligation, and it is something that you have to do right now. Now, as you get to the end of the week, and that's more towards the middle of the week, I think that you do feel like, the other thing is that, again, I'm getting a strong feeling. The other thing that I'm seeing here is that you kind of see the colors are similar. With the domesticated dog, he's kind of brown, and with the wolf, the wild wolf, he's kind of gold. And you see in the coin how it's brown and gold. It's those very sepia kind of colors. And then the same thing with the Six of Pentacles. There's a lot of brown and gold. I really think that It could possibly be a work environment where on the surface you're doing really well and you're keeping it balanced. It's almost like, on the surface, and in reality you are doing well, you're making good money and you're passing on the money to who needs it, sorry. But on the inside, let me go ahead and go through your cards because this is really speaking to me. Your mixed emotion cards, and I don't want you to be afraid, there's no bad cards, but you got hateful, which is hostile, vengeful, and spiteful. And then you got unfulfilled, which is dissatisfied, incomplete, and purposeless. So again, I don't want you to be scared. You're not going to have a crappy week. I'm not telling you you're having a crappy week. But what I'm seeing is that what might be happening, and the vibe I really get from this is, have you ever been in that position where you go to work and you do the good thing, like you come in and you have a happy attitude, and maybe again, maybe you work in a service field where people are just coming in and they're in a nasty mood, and you're trying to put good out into the world, and you're kind of getting a little bit of just, well, thanks, bye, click, and it's not every day. It's not every day, but I think it does again with the moon and the balancing of the scales. You could very well be giving money to someone who just doesn't seem very appreciative, and it makes you feel like you have this hole in you. The other thing is that the other vibe that I get from it is that sometimes, and believe me, I've felt this way too. You are not alone. If you've ever had moments where you just feel like the normal things that you do are just not as fulfilling, like maybe before, doing the thing, getting the money, working real hard, maybe you went to work and you were like, you had a busy day, and then you came home and you're like, yeah, I brought home the bacon, I'm feeling great. And normally that makes you feel so fulfilled, but lately it is just making you feel a little hostile. Again, just, hostile, not even hateful. I don't like the word hate, but maybe just hostile. Maybe you are feeling a little irritable. It is, if you're an essential worker, it's definitely okay. A lot of people are feeling really kind of snippy right now because you're stressed, right? You're tired. You've been snipped at. You get all the good, you get all the bad, and you have to give out good in return. The other thing is that, maybe it is making you question your purpose. Because I've definitely been there as well. So again, you're not alone. Sometimes when you do the same thing over and over again, because the other thing about the Six of Pentacles is it's a little bit of a repetitive, it's a bit of a cycle, right? But moving forward towards the end of your week, you actually have a very positive week. By the end of the week, you have the Two of Pentacles. I'm sorry, the Two of Wands. And then you got the Queen of Pentacles. And gosh, guys, I am seeing a common theme, okay? Look at how many circles, okay? Beginning of the week, you got the Moon. End of the middle of the week, you got the Ace of Pentacles. And then the end of the week, you got the Two of Wands where he's holding a globe, and the Queen of Pentacles who's holding a pentacle. So I do think that I really do feel like this unfulfilled feeling, and in the middle of the week, you see the hole, right? You see the hole in the center. I do think that this is going to be a fleeting feeling. I do think it's related to your moon energy at the beginning of the week. So do not despair. I don't think that this is going to last forever. But by the end of the week, the Two of Wands is actually a really lovely card. It is about making a choice. The other thing is that you kind of see two hands with the Six of Pentacles in the middle of the week, and then you see the two hands with the Two of Wands. I think by the end of the week, you might be deciding to do something a little bit different. I do think that at the beginning of the week, you're feeling a little bit blue. You're feeling a little adrift in your emotions. And by the middle of the week, you do have an influx of money. But I do think that something in your daily routine is making you feel a little bit hostile and a little bit dissatisfied. It is making you feel like there's a hole that you need to fill. And honestly, sometimes those emotions really are a blessing. because if you don't know that something's missing, you won't know to search for it, right? And that's a mission that you want to go on. But by the end of the week, I really do think that you're going to be in a good energy. The Two of Wands, again, is about looking forward at the world, right? And it is with the shield. It's almost like gearing up to go find your happiness, right? So, I do think that you're going to have some kind of influx of fortune. I do think that you might be paying back some, or, you might have to be fair and give back, or at least make equal any debts or obligations that you have. But I do think by the end of the week, you're going to feel like you're in a good place with that. And you're really going to be looking towards the future. The other thing is that the Queen of Pentacles is very well off. It's almost like you're going to get an infusion. There's a lot of fiscal abundance. You got the Ace of Pentacles, the Six, and then the Queen. So that's crazy, guys. I really think that's almost a whole cycle there of Pentacles. So I think in the future, you really know where you're going to be going. You might be dealing with a Queen of Pentacles person. Because she is holding the pentacle, this might very well be the person that you've been giving money to. But the other thing that I see here is that you might be, because the other thing that I see here is that the Queen of Pentacles is looking this direction, and the Two of Wands is looking that way, the opposite direction. You could be very well looking to satisfy this obligation. And then, because the thing about Wands is that that's a creative endeavor. That's looking towards something exciting and new. And you feel like that new endeavor is really going to give you the world. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be chasing after it, because it's just a two, right? And a two is a choice. It's a choice. But I do think that I think that you're going to be in a good place with your finances, but you might very well be thinking about a future that is going in a new direction, and you're going to be feeling kind of excited about it. Now, this future might be taking you in a different direction than where you've been going or where your obligations have been up to date, but it does make you excited, and I do think that you're going to be very practical about it. The Queen of Pentacles is emotional practicality. She knows what would bring her stability, and she also knows how to go about it in a very down-to-earth way. So if that is you and your energy, I do think that you are looking to get out of this unfulfilled energy. You're looking to get away from this hostile kind of feeling. And you're definitely popping out of the moon. That's the good thing, is that you started off the week feeling very kind of, deep and lost in your emotions. And by the end of the week, you're actually going to see a way forward. And you're almost going to be making like a financial plan to get there. And it might be different than, it might be a different path than what you've been following, but it makes you excited. It gives you energy. That's the other thing. The Wands is really strong energy. So I do see a really good week there, guys. I think it's going to be good. And I wish you the best. It's going to be, it's not so bad. These energies fluctuate. So it's not, it's not all gloom and doom. All right, so deck number 2, we got the volcanic red rose quartz, which is really a beautiful stone. And oh gosh, we got the Art of Tarot by Liz Dean. I haven't used this deck in so long. I was really eager. I'm glad to be using it again. All right, so deck number 2. What is the energies for your week? Let's find out. Deck number 2. Ooh, okay. Okay, middle of the week, please. Ooh, wow. Ace of Pentacles in the second position again. Holy Toledo. So we got a common denominator card. I am going to take some of my blocks here so we can use those. And then end of the week. Holy, wow, we got the moon again. Yeah, these are definitely some common denominator cards. Wow, guys. Okay, let me grab some more blocks. All right. So, wow. Oh gosh, this is interesting energy. And it's like 1, 2, 3. All right, let's go ahead and get your emotions. What's And when you see the moon, there's some emotions there to be seen, right? Okay, so what's the energy? Ooh, all right. Okay, okay. Wow, okay. This is cool, guys. Okay. Wow, this is some pretty positive energy. All right, now, but the beginning of the week, we got the Four of Swords. And this deck is what we call a pip deck, which means that the minors don't have a story. They don't have an image. The court cards and the major arcana have images or stories, but pip cards just have, you know, one coin or one sword or whatever. Now, the Four of Swords is about a reprieve. It's about taking a break, right? It's about taking a mental break. And it doesn't mean that your problems have gone away. It just means that you're taking a time out. If you've ever been in those situations, if you've ever had situations where there's just so much activity going on, it's like nonstop, and then all of a sudden there's like some event that brings everything to a halt, and it doesn't mean that the event has come to its conclusion. It just means that there was something that kind of put everything on pause. And it gives you a moment to catch your breath. It's kind of your catch your breath card, right? So it means that this is the beginning of your week is a good opportunity for you to kind of breathe and kind of go to your corner. I do always think of the Four of Swords as kind of like boxing. You know how you have that moment where both boxers are exhausted and they go to their corners and they get toweled off and they get the spray bottle of water. It's like a very brief reprieve that you get. And it's very much mental. It's very mental. But at the beginning of the week, that's what you're doing. You're kind of pulling into yourself to kind of breathe and get that, get that pause, get that moment to collect yourself. So there's a lot of mental activity going on. You've probably been pretty worried. That's the other thing about swords, is that you might have been really up in your head. These are minors, so they're not majors until we get to the middle and end of the week. But the Four of Swords is definitely about you kind of, and the interesting thing about the Four of Swords is it's not even like, when you have a problem and you mull over it, like you're really just rolling it around in your head, the Four of Swords is a complete break. It's a complete break. And the one thing about this is that this weekend we are looking at a 3-day weekend. If you're in North America, I don't know if other countries celebrate Memorial Day, but it's basically just it's a nice long time out. So I didn't even realize that with the last deck. That might be why the beginning of the week is a little bit more intense, or a little bit more, dreamy. If you're working, it would give you a 3-day weekend, hopefully. And what it does is it really gives you, and that does make sense, because that would give you a timeout, right? It would give you downtime, give you downtime. And so you might have mental problems that you've been really, rolling around in your head, and you have a good moment of opportunity to kind of not worry about it, not think, try not to think about it, and to really collect yourself. Now, by the middle of the week, you got some beautiful cards here, guys. Wow. You got the Ace of Pentacles. And I really wonder if I have some cross watchers, because you see, I shuffle these. All of these decks are very well shuffled, and they're 3 different decks, and there's 78 cards in every tarot deck. So, and I swear to you, I use these decks on a daily basis. The Morgan Greer, the last deck got the moon and got the Ace of Pentacles as well. So I wonder if I have cross watchers. I mean, I love it. I have a beloved 66 subscribers. I love every single one of you. But for it to come out, I wonder if that's either collective energy, or one person watching one reading and then the other person seeing it at the other perspective. But the middle of the week, the Ace of Pentacles is a wonderful beginning. it's a stable beginning, and it doesn't necessarily, excuse me, I'm gonna cough. Sorry, guys. Ooh, allergies. Don't mind me. Um, but the Ace of Pentacles is this beginning, and it's really making me wonder if the other deck wasn't a beginning as well. But the beginning, it's like a cornerstone, right? Because the Ace of Pentacles is what you value. It's what you value. It can be money. It can be it can be a financial thing. Sometimes it can be when you put a down payment on a house. You know, it can be like a physical thing, like something you invest in. But the Ace of Pentacles, and it could very well be that, because underneath it you have the Empress. And the Empress is that really beautiful mother figure. She's the divine feminine, right? She holds the shield of the Emperor, which is her counterpart. And I love this deck because everything looks like multimedia, right? It looks like little newspaper print, right? It's a really lovely, the artwork is so gorgeous. But it means a nurturing woman. It usually means an older, mature woman, but it could be the mother of your children, or it could very well be you. I do really get the feeling like, I do get the feeling that at the middle of the week, you feel like you're starting something. You're starting something. The groundwork, you're putting the first, it's the seed of something, right? So you're planting the seed, or you're putting the first cornerstone to something kind of big, right? But the thing that you're planting, if you, you can be any gender watching this, is that, you know, at the beginning of the week, you really are taking a break and getting out of your head. You're resting and recuperating. And then by the middle of the week, it's almost like it's all systems go, right? You're planting the seed, or you're putting the down payment, or you're putting some kind of deposit towards something really kind of big. And you feel very nurturing about it. Like you almost feel like this is going to be your baby of sorts, right? So it could be a creative project, it could be the down payment on a house, it could be you're starting some kind of endeavor that's really, you feel very motherly towards. Now, alternatively, this could be something that some kind of investment that you're doing for your mother. So you could be helping establish, you know, a parent, particularly a mother figure. Either that, or if you are a man watching this reading, you could very well be taking the first step towards your Empress. And the reason that I kind of feel this is that, but a lot of times I do feel like it's more like your energy, because underneath your general energies for the week is you got curious and you got compassionate. And curious is interested, fascinated, inquisitive. And compassionate is empathetic, caring, and sympathetic. And so I really do think that if this energy is not yours, if you're not feeling kind of like something is your baby right now, and it can be a brainchild, I do get the feeling that because it's a coin, I do think that it's some kind of either work endeavor, or this could be a work project, right? And again, with the Four of Swords being over the weekend, you know, maybe you were really thinking about it, and you needed some time to breathe because you were getting too into it. And then again, by the middle of the week, or by Tuesday, when the middle of the week begins, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this is my project, all systems go, this is my baby. And you really planted that seed, and you took the first step forward to make it happen. And but the compassionate and the Empress are very similar energies. The Empress is the embodiment of all four queens, and she's nurturing. And I do think compassionate is that energy. The other thing is, if you are a man, or if you're watching, if this Empress is manifesting either as your mother or the mother of your children, the curious and compassionate, I just really think, you know, the curious energy is such a neat one because, again, when you're planting a seed, you know how you always watch it and you're like, has it sprouted yet? Has it sprouted yet? Is this the right thing? But it's such a positive energy. It's almost like you planted the seed of something and you're kind of watching it intently, like, okay, is it growing yet? And the Empress is a grower too, because her sign is Venus, which rules Taurus and Libra. So you might be looking at a Taurus or Libra, or you might be very much in that energy. Again, it's very motherly, it's very wifely, and the curiosity is and again, you feline and feminine is just so interrelated, right? So, but that's such a glorious energy. Your middle of the week is going to be very exciting, guys. I wish I could explain it more. But by the end of the week, you have some very interesting energy. You got the Page of Cups, and then underneath it, you got the Moon, and you got the Two of Swords. And what's interesting is because you got a Two of Swords, and then the moon is the mirrors, right? We were talking about this with the first deck. The two towers are mirrors. The moon mirrors the sun's light, right? And it's not really two dogs. What it is it's a domesticated dog and it's a primal wolf. And the fact that you're going from Two of Swords, and you started off the week with swords, and then you have two wolves, but then you have one cup. I'm kind of reading this one of two ways, guys. I think that if you're in the Empress energy, this might be a project that you started, and by the end of the week, you're really you're kind of torn between you're kind of torn between, again, the Two of Swords is about being torn between your head and your heart. And the moon is about really hidden emotions. They're like deep-seated emotions. But the Page of Cups is a very innocent expression of emotion. It's very childlike, and it's very uninhibited, and it's very gentle, and it's very vulnerable. So I'm sorry. I know there's just so much. I'm feeling very sensitive with this whole read. Like, I'm feeling very open with it. Again, curious and compassionate. I mean, just looking at this, it's like there's no armor in any of this. Like, she has the shield to the side of her, right? The two ways I'm reading it, just to put it out there, because I know this is, I just feel so sensitive with this. This feels very receptive. I'm feeling reception, like receiving. And that's where I really do think, I think what's happening is that if you are I really think that you're going to get some kind of offer this week, guys. I think that you're in your feminine energy. I think by the beginning of the week, you're really just going to be kind of taking a mental break. I think that you might be celebrating the holiday weekend by just really, checking out and not really being up in your head. I also think that you might be doing a lot of creative. I get kind of a real relaxed vibe over the weekend. I think you're going to do what you want to do. I don't think you're going to, be a stickler for, it's going to be one of those no plans weekends. You're just going to do what you want to do. And really, I think you're going to rest and recoup. But by the middle of the week, I have a feeling that someone's going to come to you. Someone's going to come to you, and this person's curious about you. And the other thing is that I think you are being very compassionate. It's almost like, I think that, again, she looks like she's looking at that coin, right? She's looking at that coin, and she's curious. She's like, what is this? And I do think that there's some kind of opportunity or something that's going to be presented to you that you're very curious about. And but you are going to be in a very compassionate mood. I almost get the feeling like this offer that's being presented to you is, again, it being the Page of Cups by the end of the week. I think you're in a very receptive mood, but something's going to be presented to you that you're going to have to look at. It's almost like curiosity and the cats in boxes, right? You're gonna let the offer present itself to you, and you're gonna be very curious about it. But by the end of the week, it's almost as if you're going to be looking at this with a very open heart. It is going to kind of, whatever opportunity this is really going to kind of trigger some emotions in you. There might be something involved in this where you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons. And it being rooted in the Two of Swords, there is going to be a little bit of a choice here. The other thing is that by the end of the week, I do think that you're going to be in a very kind of dreamy mindset. And I think the Two of Swords, you're trying to keep a rational, you're trying to keep your head on your shoulders, right? Because the moon can be very, very foggy, right? It makes you feel and sense emotions, or it might trigger emotions that are based on previous experiences. But I do think that you want to be open to this opportunity. Now, quite honestly, it might very well be, again, if this is a family member or a mother or a motherly figure, you're definitely going to be, there's going to be some kind of foundation or new start laid with this person. And by the end of the week, you're going to feel kind of torn between your hearts and your emotions. You're going to feel a little bit like, okay, is this the opportunity that I want? And but it's going to feel that the thing about the page is that it's not a knight or a king or a queen. This is a very youthful energy. It's very childlike. It's not always it's a little bit of a fleeting emotion. And I think that's why you're kind of keeping the Two of Swords in the back of your head. It's very easy to be swept away by this, and you are feeling very receptive. You want to receive, and you're feeling compassionate. The last interpretation that I'll have with this is that there may have been some kind of standoff where you really kind of pulled back and you just kind of said, okay, let it fall out the way that it may. And by the middle of the week, you have a really strong new opportunity, and it's putting you in the Empress energy. But the thing is, by the end of the week, the Page of Cups can be some kind of apology. It can be, it's normally a heartfelt, it's a page-like character bringing you a cup. But I think you are questioning this a little bit. You do feel a little emotionally uncertain. You feel a little lost in how to react to this, because you want to keep a clear head, right? You have swords and you have a lot of moon energy. So I know this is a little bit of a interpretable read, but I do think that you're going to have a good week. I think you're going to have an excellent week. Again, I think in the beginning of the week, you're just going to kind of mentally check out. Middle of the week, you're going to feel very, very abundant and nurturing, and you're going to have a good start to something. And your energy is just going to be very charismatic. You're really going to be the bee's knees because you have a curious and compassionate energy for your week. But by the end of the week, I would not be surprised, because the other thing about the Page of Cups is that normally there's a fish jumping out of the cup, which is like, it's like a surprise. Like you don't expect, that. But this message, or this heartfelt, communication really is going to it's going to put you in the feels a little bit, and you are going to try to keep balance. You're going to try to keep a clear head on your shoulders. So by the end of the week, you might be a little bit torn between your heart and your head, but you definitely do want to open up. You're going to have a very open heart, you know, all throughout the week. But gosh, guys, I hope that resonated. That's very interesting energy. And let me do this. Let me go ahead and put some of our common denominators up, because that's really amazing. Let me do this. It's amazing that we got the Ace of Pentacles and the Moon, you know, in two different decks in the same read. That doesn't, I'll tell you, I throw cards every single day. I really don't see that all the time. It does not happen every day. So let's go ahead and get your cards. There we go. Moon. Let's put Moon over here. And Ace right there on top. Wow, look at that, guys. Isn't that crazy? All right, so without further ado, deck number 3. And you have that beautiful petrified wood. So let's go ahead and see the Tarot of the Southwest Sacred Tribes. Thank you. Middle of the week, please. Oh, wow. End of the week, please. Oh, wow. That's awesome, guys. Wow. I do love the artwork in this deck. Okay, so let's go ahead and get your emotions card without knocking down everything. What is the emotions for? Number 3. Oh, gosh. That does not surprise me. That was trying to come out in the beginning when I was shuffling the deck. Okay. Oh, sorry. My tablecloth's getting all wrinkled. Okay, so deck number 3. Wow, you have some kind of week. Now, we did have, we just had a new moon on the 20th, so this could be this energy. It's a new moon in Gemini. But the beginning of the week, you have the Hanged Man in reverse. So it popped out in the reverse. And the Hanged Man is looking at a situation. It's staying in an uncomfortable situation, but seeing it in a new perspective, like learning new things from an uncomfortable situation. It's almost like seeing the spiritual in, you know, in the lessons in life. And with it being in reverse, it means that you're coming out. At the beginning of the week, you're coming out. You're leaving a period of suspension, right? Maybe something's been going on, and again, you know, with world events, maybe it's you starting to work again, or maybe it's you starting to venture out. Again, I know we're not completely out of the woods with social distancing, but we are slowly starting to kind of bounce back a little bit. So maybe that's the Hanged Man energy. I really get the feeling like it's something that's been going on for a while that's really kept you in limbo. You did learn a lot from the limbo, like you saw the higher meaning. You saw things from a higher perspective while you were, you know, laid up, so to speak. But with it being in the reverse, the beginning of the week, you're coming out of that energy. Like, you are no longer hanging upside down. You are ready to untie your foot and get down off the rack, right? So, you know, the beginning of the week is a really energetic start, right? It's almost as if I am getting kind of a vibe that you are starting to come out of this energy. Like, have you ever, I know this is such a silly thing to think of, but if you've ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, and you know how in the part of the movie where he starts cross-country running, and, you know, he just runs and runs and runs, and everybody starts following him, and he grows this, you know, shaggy beard. And then all of a sudden, you know, just one day he's out in the middle of Arizona somewhere, and in the middle of the road, he just stops. And he goes, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And he just stops, right? He'd been running forever, right? That's kind of the energy that I'm getting from this Hanged Man in reverse. It's almost like you've been in suspension and you've been seeing things from a different perspective and you've been learning the lessons. And then all of a sudden one day you just, at the beginning of the week you say, I don't want to be here anymore. And you just let yourself down, right? You let yourself, you untie your foot and you start walking again, right? So that's really your energy in the beginning of the week. And there might very well, I'm not seeing any court cards, so I don't think that there's not any event or person that's triggering this, but in the middle of the week, you got the Eight of Wands. And we had a tarot on the Eight of Wands not too long ago. If you get a chance, you might want to watch that. But the Eight of Wands is all systems go. It is like, and it is about a period of waiting, that after a period of waiting, everything gets, it's almost like it's almost like rebooting your router, right? Like once everything has been turned off, and then you turn everything back on again, and all systems start, in synchronous, in synchronized order, start coming back online. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this. Either that, or it could very well be a project that may have been in limbo for a while. It'd been one that you'd been looking at. Maybe it needed more tweaking. Maybe it needed more, troubleshooting. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now is the time. Let's go. Now the time is to go, right? So you see all these wands, it's like everything is, they're flying through the air and they're going, right? And they're all headed the same direction. They're all parallel to each other. So everything, whatever you're doing, if this is a project or something going on in your life, everything is full speed ahead right now, and everything's going off without a hitch, right? It's plans are launching, they're in sync, all of the moving parts are in sync with one another, and it's a very fast energy. So in the middle of the week, the other thing is that maybe it's possible that maybe you got word that things were starting to move forward, and then by the middle of the week you get that email like it's like, okay, yes, we've launched it, good job, it's on its way. Because the other thing about the Eight of Wands is that you see how there's little envelopes at the top and bottom of the card. The Eight of Wands is also about getting relevant information that you need. So it could be something that was held up for a long time because you needed more information, either that or you needed the cooperation of something else, or you needed some other facet to be approved in order for you to move ahead. And by the beginning of the week, you see that you finally got that approval. And by the middle of the week, it's like, yes, okay, that was the final, the final thing that we needed to charge forward, and it's like all systems go. And now by the end of the week, now your overall energy, your emotions card, you got excited, you got elated, thrilled, enthusiastic. And I just want to note that the colors in the rods are very similar. You see how it's kind of rainbow colors, and it's kind of rainbow colors there. I really get the feeling like maybe this is something that you've been waiting for a really long freaking time. Again, it might have been delayed by world events. I know all of us have been kind of, set back by everything that's been happening in the world, and it's been sad and it's been discouraging. But I really get this feeling like something has turned around and you're so freaking excited. Now, by the end of the week, you have some interesting energy here. By the end of the week, you got the World. You got the World, which is that closeout of a cycle. And remember, we had a tarot on the World as well, but in the four corners of the World, you have symbols for the four fixed elements. It's normally Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And what that is that's the fixed signs of the zodiacs are the get it dones. They're the people who get things done, right? The cardinal signs are the leaders. They start things. The mutable signs are the communicators. They are kind of like the glue and the communication that keeps the machine oiled and running. And then the fixed signs, you know, the Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpios of the world, they're the ones who tenaciously hold on and make sure things go the way that they're supposed to go. So when I see the world, I do think of the fixed signs. I think it also makes me think that what it tells me is that you stuck it out. You saw something through to its end, right? You saw something through to its end. But the other thing that I'm seeing here is that above the world, you got the Eight of Swords. You got the Eight of Swords. And again, that's some very interesting energy, because the Eight of Swords is about feeling, it's about feeling like you're stuck even though you're not, right? It's almost that mental sense like you can't go anywhere. It's mental entrapment. And I kind of read that one of a few ways. I do kind of read that as a little bit of, because the world is underneath the Eight of Swords. Again, that's a very interesting combination, guys. I can kind of read this a few ways, but the real vibe that I'm getting is, with it being the Hanged Man in reverse and the World, which are both major arcana cards, I really think that this really, you know what this feels like, and I know this is going to sound dumb, but this is the vibe I'm getting, is that, because the other thing is that the Hanged Man has the same colors as Excited. Look at that. It's like all the reds and golds and oranges. I really think that there's this project that you wanted, because again, major arcanas are stuff that started. I always think of major arcanas as the gears of a clock. There's big gears and then there's little gears. Almost like a big gear being a year, and then being a month, and then a week and a day and an hour. The big gears are the big life events that turn the smaller gears, right? Or vice versa. The hours that you spend dedicating to something, you know, builds accomplishment that, you know, turns into long-term achievement. So I think that the Hanged Man, I think there's some kind of project that you started a long time ago, and you were real eager to just get it through. You wanted full speed ahead. But the universe had a bigger plan, and I'm not trying to get woo-woo with you here. You don't have to believe in, you know, whatever belief you have in a higher power is yours. But I do believe that sometimes the universe puts the brakes on you, and at the time you get frustrated. You're like, why can't I just, you know, trudge ahead? And, you know, and then something like a pandemic happens, and then we're laid up for 6 months, and there's craziness. But what it is that, and I don't mean to make light of that, it's very, you know, it's challenging times. But I think what it was is, it was some kind of project that you really thought when you started it that it was just gonna, you know, go without a hitch and finish up. And you started it, and then again you had to wait for the final pieces to come together for it to finish. And finally, you've been waiting and waiting. Now, the thing about the Hanged Man is, while you're waiting, you are learning, right? There's something about this waiting, or something about this being detained, that really taught you something spiritually. And now that you've done the waiting and you've done the learning, now you're getting what you wanted, and you're excited, right? You're elated, you're thrilled. Okay, now my plans are in motion again. But I'll be honest, it's almost like now that you're getting your conclusion. Again, the four fixed signs. You're finishing what you started, and the wheel. Again, the Wheel of Fortune. The World is the last major arcana. It's the conclusion. It's the graduation. And again, also, this can be a graduation card. The other thing is that there are a lot of graduations going on in the world. So it's possible that you're celebrating something. You know, maybe you are finally getting word about your graduation date. But the world, it's almost like now that you're getting what you want, and now that the cycle is complete, now that you've finished it, and you don't feel free. You still don't feel free. You almost feel like I know that sounds so silly. It's almost like you feel like you're still, like you still have to wait, but you don't have to wait, right? You don't have to wait. This really is. The only other thing I can think of is that maybe you're cautious, like you're it really is the conclusion, but you've had so many delays, you're like, is that real, you know? Am I being punked, right? Am I being punked? But the other thing that you got, and I wanted to clarify it, and the clarifier you got is the sun. You got the sun. Oh my gosh, guys. There is something super thrilling that's happening for you this week, and I'm really excited because Eight of Wands, excited, the world, and the sun. The sun is the happiest card in the deck. It is, we had a tarot on it. It's pure elation, right? It's like having that moment where you just laugh, you just belly laugh, right? It really is a lot of joy. But it's so strange with the Eight of Swords. The only other thing that I can think of is that maybe you feel like you don't deserve this victory. But the vibe that I'm getting, though, is that this cycle is concluding. This cycle is concluding, and whether you feel like you that that whether you feel stuck, you know, if you feel stuck, the universe is going to very quickly show you that this is done. This is done. Because the other thing about the sun is illumination. Anything that you were confused about will be illuminated, right? So if you did feel like stuck in this situation for any reason, the sun is gonna, it's gonna blow all the clouds away. The other thing is that the Eight of Swords being swords is that it's usually a lot of mental confusion. It's a little bit of feeling like, you know, again, it's all up in your head. For some reason, the only other thing that I can think of is that you finally wrapped up a project, and maybe, you know how we all have that kind of anxiety, and again, swords are mental stress. You know how you feel like because it's had so many delays in the past, um, you still watch the project, like even though you know it's done, you're like, okay, is something, it's almost like you're paranoid something's gonna crop up and ruin your victory. But because you've had so many obstacles in the past, right? You got thrown into the hangman position, and the hangman had been there for a while, and now you're coming out of that, and it's full speed ahead, and you're really excited. And by the end of the week, you're like, is that true? You're almost poking at it with a stick, like, okay, is this real, or are you going to come back? And the only other thing that I can think of is that maybe you are finishing up some kind of project in your life, but there's just some final details that are kind of keeping you. Like, you might have to finish up a few last things. Maybe if you are the type of personality that I'm the same way. I like to start a lot of projects, and sometimes when I'm forced to go back and actually, put the finishing touches on something, at that point I'm a little restless, and I'm like, okay, why do I have to go back and still work on this, But it's almost like that kind of energy. You almost feel like you're afraid, or it's definitely a mental stigma, because you are excited. Whatever's full speed ahead is really exciting, and it's taking you straight into the wrapping up of the cycle, and you're gonna have a moment in the sun. You're gonna have a really joyful weekend. That's the other thing, is the weekend is going to be very exciting. And possibly if you celebrate the holiday weekend, you might start seeing the full speed ahead might start on Tuesday, and so over the weekend you see how it's going to go, and you're like, oh yeah. But the Eight of Swords is definitely, it's your own mental prison. It's not a reflection of what might really be going on. But you might be a little, gun shy, because again, you might have been delayed so much in the past, you might not be believing that this is true. Either that, or you might feel like you don't deserve that victory. but by the end of the week, you're going to quickly get over that energy, and you're going to see very clearly that yes, this is the graduation, this is the conclusion, and you're going to have that moment of being very proud of it, being excited about it, maybe even celebrating a little bit. But it is going to be that I'm so excited for you, because the sun is that moment of unbridled joy. You are going to have, I promise you, please tell me if this resonates. Please let me know if at the end of the week you don't have, even if it's just for 5 minutes, some moment where you just feel blissfully happy because everything has finally, wrapped up. But wow, guys, that's a really exciting week. That is so much energy. You can see I'm getting energized just talking about it. But all right. But I sincerely hope everybody has a great weekend. If you do have a long weekend, I hope it is exciting and that you relax and you have fun and that, take some time for yourself. I will be back on Tuesday with the How to Tarot. And this Tuesday we're doing a great read. We get to talk about the warm and wonderful, beautiful Queen of Wands. So I hope you can join me then, and I'll catch you later. Bye.